All right, so here's our study guide for quiz 24. And problem number 1 asks you, in triangle ABC, angle A is a right angle, angle B is 45 degrees. Okay, so if angle B is 45 degrees, so is angle C. So we've got a 45, 45, 90 right triangle, which means these two sides are congruent. Find BC. So we need the hypotenuse of a 45, 45, 90. So that's the length of a leg. We're going to say BC is equal to the length of a leg times the square root of 2. Now, it asks you to leave it in simplest radical form. Well, that is simplest radical form. Okay? Simplest radical form means that there is a radical in your answer, or that your answer is just a complete whole number with no decimals. So either or. In problem number 2, you're asked to find the length of the leg. If your answer is not an integer, leave it in simplest radical form. So we've got a 45, 45, 90 right triangle again. So the length of one of these legs, you can put an X here. X is equal to the hypotenuse divided by the square root of 2. Now, in simplest radical form, you can't have a square root in the denominator. So your technique is to multiply the numerator and the denominator by square root of 2. In the numerator, you get 16 radical 2. And in the denominator, the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is equal to 2. And then this 16 over 2 will cancel, and you're left with 8 radical 2. That's your answer in simplest radical form. Problem number 3, find the lengths of the missing sides of the triangle. Write your answers as integers or as decimals, rounded to the nearest tenth. All right, so this is another 45, 45, 90 right triangle. The two legs are congruent to each other. So I'm going to start off with the y, and it's equal to 7. And the x is equal to a leg times the square root of 2. So in the calculator, we're going to take, I'm going to set my calculator to second, fix 1, which will round everything to the nearest tenth. And 7 times 2 square root equals 9.9. Set it down. Problem number 4, find the value of the variable. If your answer is not an integer, leave it in simplest radical form. So again, we've got a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. They're given the hypotenuse. So x is equal to 5 divided by radical 2. So if we need it in radical form, we're going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by the denominator. We get 5 radical 2 over square root of 2 times square root of 2 equals 2. So there's your answer in simplest radical form. Problem number 5. The area of a square garden is 242. How long is the diagonal? So if you take a square garden, if it's a square, all the sides are the same. All the angles are 90. A diagonal connects two non-consecutive vertices. So this diagonal created a 45, 45, 90 right triangle. Two of them, actually. So we need a side length so we can find the length of the diagonal. And all we're given is the area. All right. So the area of a square is equal to one side squared. So they give us this area of 242. So if we substitute that into this formula, we can find out one of the sides. So I'm going to move over here and I'm going to say that 242 is equal to a side squared. And if I find the square root of each side, then I get a side length equal to the square root of 242. So this S is equal to 242 square root 15.6. So I'm going to go back over to my triangle. This side is 15.6. And we need this diagonal. I'll call it D. So the diagonal is equal to 15.6 times the square root of 2. Which is 22. All right, so the square root of the area of a square is equal to a side length. A square root, the square root of the area of a square is equal to the side length. And then you multiply the side length by the square root of 2, and it gives you the length of the diagonal. Problem number 6, the length of the hypotenuse of a 30, 60, 90 triangle is 4. Find the perimeter. Perimeter is the sum of the sides. Perimeter is the sum of the sides. So if we've got a 30, 60, 90, hypotenuse is 4. So here's our hypotenuse. The short leg is opposite the 30-degree angle. The short leg is equal to half of the hypotenuse. So this short leg here, short leg, that's equal to 2. And then this long leg is equal to the short leg times square root of 3. So the perimeter is equal to 4 plus 2 plus 2 radical 3. So that's 6 plus 2 radical 3. which is 9.5. Problem number 7, find the value of the variables. If your answer is not an integer, leave it in simplest radical form. All right, so the 6 here, this 6 is it's opposite the 30-degree angle. So it's the short leg. The x is the long leg. And the 12 is the hypotenuse. So the long leg, x, is equal to the short leg times radical 3. So 6 times radical 3, well, that's in simplest radical form. All right, same directions for number 8. The side across from the 30-degree angle, that's the short leg. The other leg is the long leg. So the short leg, y, is equal to the hypotenuse, which is 20 radical 3 divided by 2. 20 radical 3 divided by 2, you can simplify the 20 over 2. So this is 10 radical 3. That's in simplest radical form. The long leg, the x, is equal to the short leg, which is 10 radical 3, times the square root of 3. 10 radical 3 times square root of 3 is 10 radical 9. The square root of 9, 9 is a perfect square. Square root of 9 is 3. And 10 times 3 is 30. So there's your x and your y. Problem number 9. Let me see if the directions have changed. No, we're still in simplest radical form. All right, problem number 9. The side across from the 30 is a short leg. The other leg is a long leg. And the hypotenuse is the y. It's across from the 90. So y is equal to 17, which is the short leg, times 2, which is 34. The long leg is equal to the short leg times the square root of 3. And that is in simplest radical form as well. So there's your x and there's your y. All right, and problem number 10. A piece of art is in the shape of an equilateral triangle. So equilateral triangle means all the sides are the same. If all the sides are the same, all of these angles are the same. And if all of the angles in a triangle are the same, then they're all equal to 60 degrees. So right here, we've got 60 degrees. A piece of art is in the shape of an equilateral triangle with sides of 13 inches. So this side's 13. All the sides are 13. Find the area of the piece of art. Round your answer to the nearest tenth. We've got a triangle. Area of a triangle is equal to 0.5 times the base times the height. So this area is equal to 0.5 times this base, which is 13, times the height, which is right here. Now, when I drop in this altitude or this height of this triangle, it intersects this bottom side at 90 degrees. So we've got a 90-degree angle, a 60-degree angle, and since we bisected this top angle, this is 30 degrees. All right? So what we need is this height to go into our formula. Well, this height is the long leg of a 30, 60, 90 right triangle. So now, does everybody see this piece? This piece right here in yellow is the short leg of the 30, 60, 90. The blue piece is the long leg. All right? So the short leg is equal to the hypotenuse divided by 2. So this yellow piece right here is 6.5. So the height is equal to the short leg times the square root of 3. So the height is equal to 6.5 times the square root of 3. And we're going to round your answer to the nearest tenth, so we can finish this in the calculator. So 0.5 times 13 times 6.5 times 3 square root, and we get 73.2. The key being in this problem, 1, the area of a triangle, the formula for the area of a triangle is 0.5 times base times height. The base is the 13, this is given. The rest of the problem is just finding the two legs of a 30, 60, 90. This short leg is going to be half of the hypotenuse, and this long leg, the height, is going to be the short leg times the square root of 3. And then just multiply 0.5 times your base, which was given, times your height, which is half of this base times the square root of 3. Half of the base times the square root of 3. All right, does anybody have any questions? Yes. All right, please use the rest of the period to be academically productive, whether it's in this class or in one of your other classes.